I think it's a beautiful day today. It is, what is it? The red harvest blood moon, an eclipse that's not going to happen in another 13 years. So today's like this super rare astrological thing. What's going on is we have a full moon, and the moon is closest to the earth right now, so it makes it extra big looking. And then with the eclipse, it also is, I read about this in like science.com, it's all the sunsets of the world. So the way the sun is hitting the earth, the light is refracting onto the moon, and so all the sunsets kind of going on at the same time are reflecting on the moon, so that gives it the kind of red orange color. So, and then the eclipse will be seen tonight, later on. So we'll have a clear skies, supposedly, here in California. We've had lots of clear skies recently, so I'm not worried about it. But it's one of those rare things that happens. It's a beautiful thing that happens. And it's interesting how we can see this rare and unusual expression of the moon and appreciate it and honor it. And people flock to go see this unusual beauty that's happening. And yet, whenever we have differences in our skin tone or in personality types, we don't rush around and adore and appreciate and acknowledge each other for that. So it's kind of interesting, huh? We're here this month to talk about discovering yourself and also to take the leap. So everybody, this is really your year to take the leap. If you haven't taken the leap yet, you better start getting ready, because the year's coming to a close, and so you're going to need to take the leap soon so you can be in alignment with the theme. As you know, many of our congregation have already taken the leap, some to other states, some to new businesses, some out of their current careers. And it's a leap of courage, a leap of trust, a leap of discovering yourself. We usually, the scientists say we have the same thoughts every day, over and over and over again. You think about yesterday, you think about what happened, what's going to happen, and the same thoughts are going through our heads, right? To take a leap is an invitation to take a jump outside of your comfort zone, to do something that you wouldn't normally do. Now, how else are you going to discover yourself unless you start looking in places you haven't seen before? Sometimes that means looking in those places that you don't like about yourself. And sometimes that means trying out new things. I love this book that I've been reading, Be Yourself, Everyone Else is Already Taken. It's yeah, right? Be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. Transform your life with the power of authenticity. This guy is, his name is Mike Robbins. And he talks about what authenticity is. And he, we think, to be authentic is like, I have to know exactly what I'm going to do with my life. Or I have to get in people's faces and tell them how I think. Or I have to be unique and creative, otherwise I'm not authentic. Or I have to possess some kind of special talent or skill. Or I have to be a loner. A lot of people think, I'm being authentic, and so therefore I'm being a loner. But that's not really what authenticity is. In dictionary.com, they say that authenticity is the quality of being genuine, which also means not false or copied, real. To be real. So, authenticity is basically about being who you are fully. It's about being yourself, understanding, owning, acknowledging, appreciating, and expressing all of who you are, both the light and the dark. And sometimes, a lot of times, getting to that space of acknowledging the fullness, the totality of our being is not always the easiest place to get to. And I want to say places like this, we have New Thought centers, right? So you've got Unity and Divine Science and Christian Science and all these other affiliated organizations that basically teach the same thing that we teach. We focus a lot on the light. We do. We focus a lot on the light because we know that what you put your attention on grows. So if a car is you want to get a new like a VW Bug or something, all of a sudden you're paying attention to VW Bugs and you see them everywhere, right? Like all of a sudden you're like, oh, they're everywhere. Well, it's because what you put your attention on grows. And so we talk about here a lot, putting your attention on the light, right? Putting your attention on the positive or the good aspects of life, refocusing, redirecting. And there's also being loving toward that aspect of the dark, being loving toward that aspect of ourselves that we might deny, that we're not willing to show light on. And that's where self-forgiveness comes in. That's where understanding that where everybody else is a reflection of where you are right now. And the only way to change the world outside is to change the world inside first. Mike Robbins has a story where he was in kindergarten, and he remembered it very well because he was so happy. He wore a maroon polyester leisure suit with tan desert boots and a gray clip-on tie to his first day of kindergarten. And it was in the late 70s. His mom told him that he insisted he wore the outfit because he wanted to. He liked it a lot. And unfortunately, whenever he got to kindergarten, all the kids laughed at him and made fun of him. And he felt super stupid for his outfit. And so he made a decision at that time in his life that he was going to do everything he could do to avoid being made fun of. So he wanted to do everything to fit in, to be with the norm, to be what society says is right and appropriate. And so he stopped being himself. I don't know if any of you have done that in your life, but I have. Yeah, I totally have. And it's really interesting because the more I learn about spirituality and the more I learn about what I define as God, maybe you're going to call it the quantum field, or maybe you call it the universe, or maybe you call it spirit, or maybe you call it love. I call it God. Because for me, God doesn't represent like a male person in the sky who's far away from me and judging me like Santa Claus. Actually, for me, God is a universal, infinite presence that is everywhere present. And so if God is everywhere present, that means that God is in my body. And that means that what I'm made up of, even those things that I perceive as flaws, is God. And so if I really believe in love, and that love is infinite, and that's the nature of God, that means that everything about me is love. But I have to get to that place where I love everything about me. I'm actually denying the amazing, incredible thing that I was created as. And I know that each and every one of us was created perfectly, as we wrote in our affirmation, exactly as I am and exactly as I am not. Can you believe that that's perfect? Probably not, because we think perfect means something, right? Perfect has to look a certain way. And perfect, the way that I think perfect looks, this is my old languaging, by the way, the way I think perfect looks is not the way that I am. But what if the way that you are is what perfection looks like? With your flaws, so-called, with your strengths, with your weaknesses. So how do you love that? I think that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about discovering yourself, is discovering how to love yourself all the way around. I went to Woman's Spirit this last week, and there was a woman there. She was in her 70s. It was her first time at Woman's Spirit, and Woman's Spirit's been going on for 25 years. It was actually the last Woman's Spirit that they've ever had. And this woman in her 70s, she got up and she shared that it was the first time that she actually felt accepted for who she was. She was in her 70s. And she said that she was a lesbian, and ever since she was really young, she was so ashamed that her body didn't look like a regular female body. Her body didn't have the curves and the shapes that females are supposed to have. And she didn't fit in female clothes well, and she didn't really like them. She wanted to be a woman, but her idea of what woman and what female meant was something that her body wasn't showing. And so she never accepted herself, and then her family had shunned her for appreciating and loving women. And so she was denied that from her family. And so everywhere she went, not only did she not appreciate who she was because she loved women, but then she also didn't even appreciate her own body because she didn't think it's what a female body should look like. Yeah. And I'm sure that doesn't just go for females. I'm pretty sure that men get a lot of that stuff too. So what are we doing to ourselves? Why are we doing this? You know, we are the ones who get to change the world. We are the ones who can say the female body doesn't have to look a certain way and the male body doesn't have to look a certain way. As a matter of fact, it can look exactly the way that you look. As a matter of fact, that can be so incredibly beautiful, divine, handsome in the mind of the Infinite One, that I recognize that everybody I see is that beauty. It's like we're a package of flowers, you know? Like, you don't want to have, you can have all roses, but it's really fun if you have roses and marigolds and different kinds of flowers. And appreciating the beauty that every single one takes form is so essential. So I've committed myself to appreciating the beauty in everyone, exactly as they are and exactly as they are not. And especially when I look in the mirror. That's the hardest part. I don't know if you've ever done those exercises, you know, like the look into your mirror and love yourself exercise. Yeah, try it. It's interesting how difficult it is sometimes. It's interesting how we can look in the mirror and what do you see? Oh my gosh, I have a wrinkle, and oh, I have a zit, and gosh, I put my makeup on wrong, I know. Oh gosh, why? What about looking into the mirror and seeing that divine expression that was put on this planet to be unique and special? Try it out today. When you go home, don't tell anybody, just go look in the mirror and see if you can actually get to the point where you feel love. Love emanating from yourself when you're looking at yourself in the mirror. See if you can get to that place. So, in the book, he's got some practices for you to do that you can actually be stepping into your authenticity. He's got some principles of authenticity, and two of those principles are, one, know yourself. Plato was the one who quoted Socrates in saying, know thyself. Now, a lot of us think that know thyself or know yourself is knowing about yourself. Like, oh, I know about myself. I can tell you my name, my birth date, that I'm female. So facts and aspect of who I am. I can tell you I've been to Woman Spirit. I can tell you I've been to Bali. I can tell you I've been all over the world this year. And that's about me. It's a story. It's a story you tell people about who you are. That's not knowing yourself. Knowing who you are is an evolutionary process. It's a process of looking within, of uncovering what beliefs that your parents gave you, what beliefs you took on from society. It's uncovering that aspect of realness, of authenticity of who you really are. And maybe who you really are is somebody who you like to be at home and, you know, hang out at home and do little craft projects all the time. But you don't want to tell people, because then what would they think? Well, what if what you are and who you are and how you are being is exactly right and perfect? What if everybody in here loved everybody else exactly for who they are? We had an exercise at Woman Spirit, or there's a girl named Sophia DePaulo, and she is doing this photo project about being whole and accepting all aspects of ourselves. And so she had this photo online, which she eventually did a workshop for at the retreat, of holding up a photo in front of you, and it says, "I am whole." And then she wrote all of the conditions she has that people don't know about: ADHD, bipolar, hyperactive, depression. So all of these conditions she wrote all over her body, and then she held up a sign saying, "I am whole." Can you do that with yourself? Do you think you can accept all of the conditions of your body and the things that you are going through as part of your wholeness? Could it be possible that you are made perfect exactly as you are and exactly as you are not? So one way to know yourself, we have some great evolutionary processes that you can do to find out more about yourself. One is you can pay attention. So pay attention to the things you say and do. How do you show up in life? Observe yourself in the present moment. Try and not think of the past or the future and just be present. Another thing is learning about yourself and your personality. There's a lot of personality tools out there: Myers-Briggs, the Enneagram, the Strengths Finder. It is so educational to find out what your personality type is, and especially the personality types of the people close around you. Because it gave me insight on how to understand and recognize and talk and communicate with somebody who's completely different than me and doesn't think like me. And yet I'm open to the idea that how they think and what they say, which is different than me, is also valid and important to know and recognize. Another thing to do is appreciate your strengths. Take inventory. Find out what you do well. And here's a big one: have compassion for your weaknesses. I took a drumming workshop while I was at Woman Spirit. Now, I love to drum, but I like to do it in a big circle where there's like 70, 80 people, so nobody can tell that I can't really hit the rhythm. And that way I feel much better about myself. But what happened is I did this drumming circle, and this lady who was teaching the drumming circle, she taught it with a song, which I've never had that done before. She was from Jamaica, and she would say something like, "Alika loves to dance, don't you know? Alika loves to dance." And then you would do the drum thing. Da 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 da. And I was like, "Oh my God, I can drum. Who knew? Wow. What? Oh my God." It was amazing. And she had everybody there. We had 40 women doing these little drum things. And if you lost the rhythm, she would start to sing. "Alika loves to dance, don't you know? Alika loves to dance. Alika loves to dance, don't you know? Alika loves to dance." And we're like, "Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I'm bad, I'm awesome, oh yeah." So it was great, and it was also me noticing about my insecurities and the way I show up when I do something that I haven't been taught how to do, and I don't know what way to do it appropriately or correctly. I feel very insecure, and but that doesn't stop me anymore from doing the things that I really want to do and that I really love. And maybe it's just a little tool or a little education or a little something here that awakens me to that gift that I have that I didn't even know about. And I actually thought I didn't have all along. So the next thing I want you to do is to accept yourself. So accepting that you have strengths and weaknesses and getting feedback from the people around you. Now I'm going to encourage you to do this, but I only want to encourage you to do this if you're going to commit to making sure that you're not going to react, you're not going to take things personally, and that you're going to open yourself up to learning about yourself. So this is a thing that I've done before. It's a feedback quiz to people who are very close to me. I sent it to the Leadership Council one time. I've sent it to my practitioners. I've sent it to my family, my Sister Spirit team. And it's a questionnaire. And it goes, I gave you it on a little sheet of paper, a little homework, but 7 simple questions. What does everyone know about me? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What would you say everyone could count on me for? What would you say everyone could never count on me for? Is there anything that you see that I need to clear up for you or anyone else? And what would everyone say about me if I weren't here? So again, you'd have to commit to not reacting, not taking it personally, and accepting gratitude for this idea. And it's really, really informative. For instance, I got from my mom, who I said, what would you say everyone could never count on me for? She said, mailing anything. Unless that item is placed in front of you, you write something or sign it. The stamp, envelope, address, and return address are already done, and then you hand it to someone else to mail. You can mail it. And that's true. So somebody wrote about me a weakness. When you want something a certain way, no matter what others say, you do not seem to hear their point of view. Wow. What does everyone know about me? You are very trusting and supportive of others. You have a very strong faith and do not quit. If you feel God is calling you to do something, you are very willing to take chances. So that's some feedback that you may get when you put that out there. But I put it out there because I'm willing to step into a greater sense of myself. I'm willing to look at my weaknesses, and love myself with compassion for what they are. And I'm also willing to grow and be teachable. And so I know that that person who said that I want something a certain way, no matter what others say to them, what others say to me, maybe I need to look at that. If one person thinks so, do you think maybe others do? Maybe. Now, I'm not going to judge my whole opinion on myself on one person's comment, and I also know that there's blind spots of my life, of my personality, that I don't want to look at. So the last thing is to celebrate who you are. Buddha said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. So make peace with yourself. Give yourself a break. Embrace your dark or shadow side. Next month, we're going to do a whole exploration on the dark and the shadow side. I'm sure you're excited. It's perfect for October, but it will give you an opportunity to look at that and embrace it on yourself. In the book, Mike Robbins said that when we feel ourselves overreacting emotionally to a quality or characteristic in someone else that pushes our buttons, we can be sure that we're seeing a part of our own shadow in that other person. There will often be a repulsive element that resonates deeply within us that we actually identify with. If we don't acknowledge this dark aspect in ourselves, own it and embrace it within ourselves, whatever qualities in them that we can't stand will continue to dominate our lives. Yeah, deep stuff. And we'll explore a lot more. And then in November, we're going to have Reverend Savannah come back, and she's going to give a shadow workshop. So I want to encourage you to all come back to that too. So the last thing is forgive yourself. We're all here as spiritual beings having a human experience. We are a perfect expression of the divine. There is that one expression that is the divine, and it is expressing in and through each and every one of us. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not damaged. You are perfect exactly as you are and exactly as you are not. Your natural state is wholeness, and that's who you are. So I encourage you today to do these very things, to know yourself, to pay attention, learn about yourself, appreciate your strengths and weaknesses, accept yourself, get some feedback, and to celebrate who you are, recognizing that you are perfect exactly as you are and exactly as you are not. And so it is.